Oh my God, I'm so excited to be here with everyone. Well, I don't know about you, but kind of wild times to be in. And there is so much energy moving and so much to sort through and so much to do and so little to do all at the same time. And total tech overwhelm some of the time and total connection underwhelm some of the time. So I just want to start. I'm assuming that you can see multiple people on your screen. Shake your head if that's true. Awesome. So let's just all like give each other a collective squeeze right now and like say hi and like give each other a collective squeeze. Thank you, Amadora, for this technique, but it's really good. Just take a minute and touch yourself and welcome yourself with a little. Here we are. And I got a really, really strong message early last week to offer a space to share some of the tools and techniques and teachings that I carry, particularly around what it is to create ceremony, because as some of you know, probably not all of you, the primary work I do these days is that I create plant medicine ceremony spaces with San Pedro medicine. And many of you also know that I spent many, many years leading dance ceremonies with people, and some of you trained with me, some of you have danced with me, but I've been creating intentional sacred space for over 30 years in a variety of different ways. And my experience is that every single one of us has a capacity both to create a safe and sacred space and to share it. And since we can't connect physically with each other yet, but some of us are alone, some of us are with family, some of us are with housemates, some of us may be starting to build bridges to small groups of people who are kind of mutually quarantined. And I'm not going to get into what I think about the coronavirus at all today. But what I do know is that our capacity to anchor in our own energy and in the true sovereignty that each of us are is both very powerful individually and it's very powerful together. And it's a primary skill for supporting others to also drop into sacred space. So said a different way, my intention for this course started as like a DIY psychedelic ceremony course. And then I started dumping content. And what happened was a much more advanced course came out. And this is the precursor to that course. So these are also viable and valid tools to do your own psychedelic ceremony. They're the first ones. But I wanted to let you know that the way this course came into being is I started designing a course to support small groups of people to do psychedelic ceremony. And all this content came out. And then I went, that seems like the advanced teaching. I think we need the more basic teaching. And the more basic teaching, what's really cool about this is it is not necessary to any sacrament whatsoever. But it's a precursor and a requirement for any kind of creation of heightened space. So the tools that we're going to do today are basic tools for spiritual sovereignty that are universal and that probably almost everyone on the tool has in some ways already learned. But if we look at the process of holding space as something that's actually sequential, that actually kind of comes in a sequencing of alignments or gates, that the intention with this training is to do the first layer. And I will say that if this creates a cleaner and clearer space for any of you to do entheogenic work with yourself, that's also part of the intentional field. So no matter what kind of ceremony we're doing, whether it's yoga with ourselves or dance with ourselves or meditation or eating or work with entheogens, it's a great idea to anchor in spiritual sovereignty as the first step. So the focus today, I'm just going to pull up my notes. The focus today is self-care, sovereignty, and soul anatomy. And if you want to take notes, you are welcome to. And also, you know, as this goes on, it's so fun to see people with notebooks. I think the email that Typeform sent you has my email address as the respondent email. So as things come up over the course of these 4 weeks, one of my intentions out of this is to write a small book. And so as things come up, your questions and your feedback is also helpful. And we can approach that as a soul collaboration, because we're all collaborating to bring greater truth to our planet, shall we say, capital T. Would you like to join me as a collaborative partner in bringing greater truth to the planet?
Sure, of course.
Thumbs up. Okay, awesome. So first law. The first spiritual law is the law of one. The law of one states that, in fact, we are one with everything, or in some frameworks, it's the law of mentality, which states that the whole is of mind, but it's not mind the way we often think of it in a human way. But the first law is the law of one. And we start there, just assuming that we are all just reflections of that one. It's kind of fun to do in the context of Zoom, where I see so many faces, and it's fun to try on these laws for reals with fun little tools. Like if you just look at another face other than yourself on the screen and kind of peer at that face as a face of God. And we'll just amplify that law of the one right now, that reality that oneness includes all things, and that nothing is outside of God, and that it is all that. And then the second law is the law of correspondence, which in alchemy is stated as above, so below, or as below, so above. And is also means as within, so without. So in terms of anchoring in our spiritual power, the way that I'm going to teach from this assumes that the law of correspondence is in effect all the time, as within, so without, as without, so within. And that part of what's going on the planet right now is an amplified field of opportunity to enact the law of correspondence, to embody through the law of correspondence, to embody like our higher codes into our biology, and to reintegrate the way that biology reflects our higher codes into the way we operate as a species, which we've been really out of integrity with. So the prayer I'd like to start with as we open this space is that the work we do here is to reweave that wholeness that is already happening, but to come into greater coherency with it in service to our own lives and to all of life. And then I'd also like to honor all the teachers who have taught me. And I'd like to honor our Indigenous relatives who've also kept a lot of the prayers for the as within, so without part of the prayer alive up till now. And I'd like to honor those who have also taught the teachings of verticality. So those things are coming together right now, the teachings of the vertical and the teachings of the horizontal, no longer being separate. And then I'd like to just invite all of us to connect with the greater field of possibility at this time. And if you'd like to, for a moment, just close your eyes with me for a moment. We'll go into a deeper meditation in a little bit, but for now, to feel into the resonant field that's here present. There's probably another 200 to 400 Zoom meetings going on right now that are also teaching a variety of spiritual skills and connecting people in resonance of various sorts, probably more than that. So we connect specifically with the field of this call and this intention to co-activate ourselves and to align with the truth of what we are and the truth of who we are. As Paul Selig says, the reality that we are word. And to connect also to the wisdom of our ancestors, past and future, and the wisdom and the integrity, the beauty and the power of each place where we sit. So if you can connect right now, the field that we're vibrating through and amplifying, also specifically to the place where you sit, wherever it is on the planet. We have people on this call from Australia, who are in Mexico, who are all over the United States, who are in Hawaii, who are in Europe, and connect very deeply and clearly as an acupuncture needle between heaven and earth, a human being, a connector between heaven and earth, bringing heaven to earth through your own energy field, through your own love light and sovereign energy, sovereign center, and connecting that field, amplifying that field through the non-local connection we have with each other. And in that intention, we open this call and we open this space. And so it is. Thank you. Beautiful. So what is sovereignty? Why does self-practice matter, and what is sovereignty? Today we're just going to assume, I'd like to start by saying that we assume that to be one who holds space is to first and foremost take responsibility for oneself. So to be one who holds space is first and foremost. Sometimes holding space for others is a way to get centered in yourself, which is okay. But if we are going to hold space for ourselves or others, the first and foremost, we've got to take responsibility for ourselves. So sovereignty has been defined in many ways and has been talked about a lot lately in very spiritual teachings, especially the teachings of Kai Ra, which some of you may follow. She's really awesome. She's a sister of mine. But sovereignty to me means coming into full ownership of the space that I occupy in the universe. So if you think of yourself as a field of energy, and the soul is the place where you are sovereign from all other things. It's what John O'Donohue called the point of absolute non-connectivity with anything else. And the way I've always experienced it and seen it, it's also the way Sri Aurobindo taught it, is that it is a point beneath and behind the heart. It's where you can visualize it or sense it. In some teachings, it's also seen as the inception point and actually moves according to your evolution. I can't say that I see it that way, but I can feel the veracity of that teaching. But for me, I see and feel it as the place beneath and behind my heart, where literally it's the center of the singularity in the universe, as a single, or what I call the totality. There was probably multiple universes, but what I call the macro object, or the totality, that I am both a center in it and I am of it. And that to be incarnate is to be a place in that totality, to have a location that I fully occupy. So sovereignty is coming into full residence in the place that I occupy in the universe, which in this time and in this space is my physical body that goes by the name Samantha Sweetwater. And if you feel yourself in this way, I have found it very helpful. I've been working with this for about the last 10 years to totally drop any narrative about the ego and just see the ego as an evolutionary process, that it's a part of the human organism that's in an evolutionary process. The way I've always seen this is like, yeah, the ego can be a little bit of a problem, but nothing is outside of God. Oneness excludes nothing. So the ego must also have a purpose. And when I look at it from this angle, it's a container. It's like a cell wall that is a container for my experience of self. And so the project from the perspective of the soul is to cultivate a personality that is actually in alignment with my soul. And that's actually a much more natural process than we've been led to believe, because no one's really talked about it from that way, from that perspective. But that there's to be in sovereignty is to fully claim and reside in the seat that I occupy in the universe. And when we do that, like, all of the spiritual laws come into amplified possible potential through us. So if you're leading ceremony, if you're doing ceremony, that can start with something like a commandment that nothing that is out of alignment with my highest good is welcome in my space. I've been finding it incredibly important to work with this experience of residence and of owning my space since COVID started, that there's so many energies moving of so many kinds. And I mean, a little bit of surfing into the layered narratives of what's going on. And I imagine we've all been doing a little bit of surfing, because we all have time and we all have Facebook, or most of us do, that just the energies moving are so huge. And there's both massively mixed energies. There's narratives that carry all kinds of different tones. There's the question of what is real information. And my sense of it all is that there's a great deal going on, and that the best way to collaborate with it in the best possible way is to fully inhabit my space as love and light, and to welcome all that's in highest good for myself and the planet, and to command that anything that isn't welcome with that prayer be pushed outside of my space. So that's the meditation we're going to do today. And I'd like to explain a few other things before we go into that meditation. So just to return to this image, that you are a seat of your own soul, that each one of us is a location in time space. In other words, the way I see the soul is that it is that which makes a thing itself. And so that kind of responds to the mystery of how is everything one, and how is there suchness? How is there one, and how is there many? And if you have a mathematical mind, you can kind of see it in terms of a field of numbers. If you have a really visual mind, you can see it in terms of a field of geometries. If you have a really powerful sense of sound, you can feel it as a fabric of sound within which each part of the whole plays a certain note. That the universe is actually it's one verse that is, you could say, more of a massive symphony, and each single part is playing a part of that song. And so the the beauty of this is that you can start to feel the way everything is actually naturally designed as a dance. It's naturally designed as an ecology that is constantly seeking its own higher harmony. So if you think about it in terms of actual ecology, worldly biological ecology, the logic of ecology is a logic of creation and is a logic of collaboration and harmonies. Each part has its place, its niche, its role. Each part is collaborative with the well-being of the whole. In nature, Darwin had it right, but Darwinism had it wrong. Survival of the fittest is not the norm in nature. The norm in nature is extreme collaboration with occasional acts of force. And Darwinism interpreted that and became social Darwinism, which is what has reified our economy, an economy of win-lose. But the way that things function in nature is omni-win. The things that best succeed because they collaborate. So the way I've seen this for many years is that the whole thing works that way, that's actually the way that all of the universe functions, is as an ecology of soul. And what is seeking to be born right now in human civilization is a civilization that aligns with our nature as an emanation of nature designed to collaborate with nature, and also as an ecology of human souls seeking to manifest their unique purpose. And I know quite a lot of people on this call have gone through big life transitions where you pulled out of the default culture's version of who you thought you needed to be, of what that identity structure looked like, what that framework for success or well-being or perfection or safety looked like. And instead, you've chosen something that was probably a deeper risk and a much greater satisfaction, that was much more an expression of your true gifts, your true passions, your true love, and also just where connection calls you to respond, where relationship calls you to respond, where other humans or other beauty or ecological degradation or political need has called you to respond. So the soul ecology is this function of sovereignty is also a way of listening to, attuning to the truth of what we are, that each one of us is this location for love, light, and as a being, we are being, and we are doing, and we are becoming. And that's how we exist in the fabric of reality, is basically as this space that is being, doing, and becoming. It's never static, and yet it does have this aspect of it that is stationing as being. And if you sit in meditation, you can, and get really still, you can feel that aspect that is witness. And if you observe that even just through breathing, you are constantly doing. And if you feel yourself over the arc of time, you are constantly becoming. And in so doing, we are co-creating the fabric of what we call life. So as we align with that, each of our unique centers, we become a hugely powerful force to co-create the greater harmony of the soul ecology that's seeking to be born right now. I don't usually use the word ascension because that's not the way I'm shown this process. I use the word emergence a lot. I feel this all very much as a vibrational process, but what really interests me is the harmony, the richness of the harmony that is seeking to be born in the fabric of life. And that is for certain a much higher harmonic than what we've done in the past as a species. So I don't say that because I'm invested in being right. I hold these things very softly in my mind, but I will say that that's how it's shown to me, and the way I'm told to articulate what I see. So let me just look at my notes and see if there's anything else to be taught, to be shared before we go into meditation. Yeah, I mean, I think that the core of this is that if you're not owning your space, something else will. And the very center of the whole banana, whether we're meditating or washing the dishes, work, holding space, and the only way to be safe in a universe that guarantees nothing other than love and light is to be in alignment with ourselves. I aspire to be a gardener of a thriving soul ecology. Thank you, Benjamin. Oh, yeah, feels really good to share these teachings with you. I just want to emphasize again, just re-explain what resonance is. So resonance is distinct and overlapping with the idea of embodiment. So some of us on this call are like fully embodiment experts, and I don't need to define embodiment. I've found over the years that what is really interesting about the definition of embodiment is that everyone has their own definition. So yay. But resonance quite simply means to come fully into, to fully occupy your body, your mind, and your heart as your soul. And then to allow your body, mind, and heart to do what they do as the vehicles for learning that your soul came here to do. But it means bringing your soul fully to be here. And in some ways, it's really quite simple. It's about living in terms of identity structure, or what we could call ego. It's a softer stance of identity. And it's a place where we become a little more awake to the fact that we really are being and doing and becoming all the time. That there is a witness, there is a God force that is witnessing everything through us as us. That there is a process that we're collaborating with, and that it's like the most unbelievable blessing, that life itself is the miracle. And it also has to do with embracing all the emotions as part of that which we came here to experience, not pushing them away. They're so wise. They're just trying to show us what our souls are really here to learn and love and grow through. When we are in resonance, again, nothing is more powerful than in our space than we are. And so that's where what we're gonna work with today. So the next thing we're gonna do is we're going to meditate together, and I'll lead us through a meditation. And that will be the primary practice for today. And then I'll open the lines for questions, and we'll go until 4 o'clock, and that'll be the end. So wherever you are, just take a minute and get comfortable. And let's start by just taking a little stretch and another little stretch. Oh, and shake your shoulders out. And you can move your head around. Awesome. and come back into a seat. Or standing or laying down, whatever's happiest for you. Jack Kornfield likes to say, there's enough suffering in the world already. You best be comfortable while meditating. I totally agree with him. So closing our eyes, just taking a moment with the physical body, with this beautiful, beautiful physical body that each one of us occupies. This biosuit, this wetware, which is pretty amazing. We're wet technology, or we are not technology because we're wet, you could say. We're something else. Just let the seat of you, the base of you, the root of you settle, yield into the surface where you're sitting and any other surfaces supporting you. Decontract whatever holds you up off the earth. And come into the length of you, the vertical dimension of your body. If you're laying down, feel this as the actual vertical dimension, not the spine up and down, but whatever is vertical. And allow that vertical dimension of you, relative to the planet, organize itself as easily as possible, softening any contractions or additional efforts, letting the skeleton settle, letting the organs settle. And then feel the width of you, which is the right side and the left side, and just allow yourself to fill out into both sides of your body. Take a breath or two, a little wiggle or two. Feeling the skin touching clothing or air. And just notice if the right side of the body is connected to the left side, and very gently invite them to meet through the midline of you. And then feel the back and the front of you, which is the depth of you. And invite that you have your own back, that the universe has your back. Softening and sheltering your body with your back. And bringing the energies of the front body into yourself. Bringing projected futures, projected sensations, projected psychic sense, projected anything back into yourself in the receptive dimension of the front body. And then feel into the middle of you, the center of you. Let's fill that center with breath. Taking an extra deep breath in, breathing in until you start to feel the breath meeting the inner surfaces of your skin. This is an extra deep breath. And hold it for a microsecond. And then let it go, softening the skin on your bones, softening the organs, settling into your length, the clean length of your skeleton. And take another deep breath in, breathing in, filling the inner surfaces of your body, filling all the way up to the inner surface of your skin, including your skull and your upper ribs and your deep belly. And then gently exhale, softening your flesh on your bones, softening your expression, softening your organs, riding in the skeleton. One more deep breath like that. Deep breath in, filling up, filling up, becoming buoyant and luminous inside. And exhale. And as you exhale, you could even visualize Shishimna Nadi. You could visualize this flute of light, a flute of light igniting and crystallizing and condensing in the center of you, in the midline of you. Let's take a moment to breathe now up and down in your own pace, that central flute of light. You can see and feel perhaps, or imagine, feel, or imagine that soul star beneath and behind your heart, right in the middle of that flute of light, right in the middle between your crown and your root. And then send a grounding cord of light and extension from your own body, from the place where you sit physically on this planet, down into the crystal core of the planet. Send it into the core of the planet, and we could literally imagine and feel cords of light going down right now on many different sides of the planet, very gently meeting at the center, triangulating. And let us connect, as we connect to the center, connect to the Earth's highest, the crystal core of the Earth that has the highest intention for herself, including the humans, in her own evolutionary prayer. And bring that back to your own body, a sense of connection to the Earth, the present tense Earth, that is a very clear prayer for her own evolutionary path. Bring that back to your space. Now, as you return to your space, I want to invite you to visualize a bubble of light around you. And as you do this, I want to invite you to, with the exception of my voice, to completely shut out anything that isn't you. Envelop yourself in your own energy. You can visualize, if you like, as it is, this energy moving outward from your soul star and encompassing your physical space and the energetic space that you occupy in the true tone, the true light, the true love of your own soul. Now I invite you to send up a line of light or connectivity to source, which you may connect to as the great central sun. Doesn't matter whether you do or not, but to the one God, the greater source of all that is. This is not required because you are also a center in source, as source. I invite you, as you do this, to take this as an opportunity to bathe in and refine your own energetic space in the totality as a whole and in this locality where you reside in your body on planet Earth. Thank anything and everything that you are connected to, and for this few moments, anchored in the earth, connected to source, bathe in and purify your space with your own light, cutting all cords to media, all cords to culture, all cords to any agendas, any programs, any plugins, any beliefs that are out of alignment with your true nature. as an emanation of God. And now very gently sense if it is true for you to begin to set a second field of encompassing energy, of your own energy, a second valence. So you can think of this as the valences of an atom, or as different layers of your own circumference. The next layer, move outward to encompass all that you have daily intimate interaction with. Your children, your partners, your homes, the food you eat, the water you drink. And as you start to do that, start to feel into the next layers that are for you to embrace. For you to embrace with your own soul light and soul integrity as an offering of harmony into the metaverse. And specifically now, I invite us all to consciously envelop the whole planet in our light, keeping a field that is in integrity around your own personal space. So only offer as much energy as is true for you. See your space enveloping, encompassing the entire planet. See, feel it gently touching others in this group. See, feel it touching others you know, others you've heard about, others you may have already felt feelings about but never met. See, feel it encompassing any and all things that we may perceive as good or bad in the harmonization of love, of belonging, of soul ecology. Nothing not welcome here. Raising everything in the vibration of alignment with love. Now, if it's your truth, just gently feel the reality of your soul's energy woven in with the totality, with the whole thing, with the all and the everything, with the grand organizing design, G-O-D, God. Allow yourself to feel your place and your connectivity in the totality. And then ever so gently bring yourself back to your personal space. And as you come back to your personal space, take a moment now to consider what are the set points of this frequency as they pertain to your immediate relations. Just very gently and consciously encompass your immediate relations. in a way that feels authentic to this offering. This invitation that whatever we touch with this truth is touched by its own, by invitation, by its own will, it gets to choose. And gently bringing yourself back to your body. Taking a few breaths into your body, which may feel fairly luminous now. And I like to end sometimes by just putting hands on my own body. Gently returning to the space. Welcome back. I am going to invite questions now and comments. I am not seeing, like I said, I'm a little bit new to Zoom and I'm not seeing how to unmute you. So I think you can unmute yourself. If for some reason that doesn't work, I'll figure out how to unmute you. Let me type to me if you can't unmute yourself. Anyone?
I have a question.
Hi, Jonathan.
Hey. What exactly, not exactly clear on what you mean by owning the space, but you've mentioned it a lot. Could you like expand on that a little bit? Like what it means?
Sure, absolutely. Yeah. I'm just listening to you where your question is coming from. We are both individuals and we are a function of relationship. So a really simple example of that is, you know, we grow up interdependent with our parents, for example. And then you go through teenagehood and you kind of come into self-differentiation and you articulate who you are, and then you get older and you try to figure out who you are in society. But owning your space is about recognizing that as an individuated being, the value of being an individual is actually inhabiting the space you occupy. So owning your space is about recognizing that you're a thing. And that the way to be that in a way that is energetically coherent is to own it, if that makes sense. It's like, I think humans are taught to see ourselves as what we are taught to be. Like we're very permeable to the narratives that we're raised with about what we are, about who we are. But what we are is actually these exquisite points of energy on the planet. Like we're very strong beings energetically. And so it's about owning your space, is about owning that you actually have power and agency. And that's part of the birthright of what you came here to be. Is that at all helpful?
Yeah, especially the thing you kind of like said at the end. So space is like body, but it's also just the whole, it's the thing that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's not necessarily a cure for COVID-19, but it's certainly a part of protecting ourselves too, or any other thing.
Samantha, can I bring something up that it's actually really interesting. I was talking to my teenager yesterday about something really similar to what you're talking about. But he and I are both empaths, and I think probably a lot of people on this call or kind of in our community are empaths. And a perception that I've had for a long time is that at the same time as we have that soul star that's our uniqueness, we're also, like you said, permeable, and that there's ways, you know, they say like the 5 people that you surround yourself by, you know, inform who you become, because we're kind of exchanging soul with each other in this way. That's the way I perceive it. And I'm just curious your thought about that. Like, I love the part of the meditation where you have us really kind of disconnect from culture, disconnect from programs, disconnect from all these external things. I'm just curious how you feel about like that permeability of us. Do you see it as something, I mean, obviously being an empath is a gift. So how do you integrate that with the like owning of space while being an empath to what's going on with others or the collective?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think that, I mean, I experience and singularity is a law of the universe, and relationship is a law of the universe. They coexist. So we are never not permeable, and being impermeable would super suck. So the meditation is not designed to inhibit permeability at all, but it is designed to refine singularity. And that's actually the perfect distinction there. Is it's designed to refine singularity so that permeability is better served. Because permeability is also a law of the universe. Like the soul ecology is by definition a field of permeabilities. It's a field of relatednesses, right? So for those who are particularly permeable or particularly empathic, and this might be true for you, Jonathan, too, it can be very hard to feel the center of self. That's actually it's not only feeling, for a lot of empaths, it's not only that you feel others, it's that it's very hard to feel you. And one of the cool things about this meditation is it doesn't require that you feel you from a place that's emotional. It's actually just about literally owning the singularity that you occupy. And because I'm not supremely empathic, I haven't structured it specifically as a meditation for empaths. But my sense is that with empaths, there might also be a deeper calling to both ground with the earth and then also observe the unique way that your soul star, like that your soul functions, and is really come into alignment with that in order to be more clear about what is you and what's not. But I will also say that just that question, is this me or is this not me, is a really key tool for an empath. So that's helpful. For some people, actually can feel really lonely when you clear your space of anybody else or anything else. It doesn't mean it's not a good thing to do. Because actually that is the space we're here to occupy. That's about full self-love and it's about full self-love. Thank you. I can almost hear you, but not quite. Can you turn up your volume?
Hello, hello, can you hear me?
I can hear you now. Barely though. If you can get closer to your machine, that would be great.
Okay, sorry, I have many things connected, so trying to figure out what the microphone is part of.
You got it.
So this is related to what you were just saying. Like, if we have these connections that feel really deeply intertwined and very sticky, how can you assist in disconnecting those? Like in the meditation, you're saying, you know, cut the cords from these things, and it just feels not that simple for me.
Right. No, that's a great question. I would say like the longer answer to that is a whole protocol that I don't want to teach today in terms of cutting cords. Because really shifting the relationships of that, the place to start with that is this. Well, let me just explain how this meditation is designed to work. There's a lot of ways you could approach that, but the way that this particular meditation came through is really as commandment. So there are a lot of energetic tools to work to cut cords, to see what they are, figure out what contracts they have, and cut them. It doesn't really work to cut cords if you don't also honor them. But the way that this particular meditation came through is as commandment, which means it is divine law that nothing is more powerful in your space than you. It's a law of the universe. Nothing is more powerful, and to be clear, nothing is more powerful in your space than your own love. So the way that this meditation came through was as the force of fully choosing to occupy, by choicefully occupy your own space. And that's what this meditation is. So it requires a certain degree of like rigorous trust, you could say, in your own power. But then it on a deeper level, if you continue to feel those energies and like you're not able to move them, that's a deeper protocol that is worth doing. But it starts with just observing and getting curious about why you created those things, recognizing that you're a co-creator with them and starting to step into choice. Is that helpful?
Yes, thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome. I have time for one more brief question. I see Ian Michael raising his hand, but I want to.
Well, I could just say in response to the last question, you know, I've been on this path like as an empath where I feel the whole world around me. And so the human world is sometimes challenging for me. And so what I do is I just listen, like, where do I feel most myself? And then as I resource from there in an environmental sense, then those other relationships and pieces that I'm tied to that are in contrast to my sovereignty start to fall away. Like they know, and I mean, we asked lots of questions, but I'll just save those for when I get home.
Thank you. Is there a really quick question? We're close to the end. I'll go a minute or two late if we have one more question.
A quick question. You said if you aren't owning your space, something else will. Can you go a little bit more into depth on that?
Yeah, sure. Thanks for asking, Deanna. Well, in a very simple way, there's so many ways I could answer that question. I'm fascinated by the culturally defined identity and how in a lot of ways it owns a person's space until we decide to own who and what we really are. So that's a broad example. But on an energetic level, in a sense, it's about things we don't have conscious awareness of a lot of the time. And sometimes it becomes conscious as like something's fucking with me. I don't know why I'm in a bad mood. I don't know what impacted me today. If you're really empathic, it's that you're feeling a bunch of other people. In the context of our current scenario, it's being really permeable to the media. Right. And then having a crap ton of feelings about stuff that may or may not be true, that is in a collective agreement field. So right now it's super relevant because there's a lot of like debate about what the collective agreement field is. And just that debate in and of itself is very loud energetically. And then there's the energies at play in that debate, right? So that's all going on. But then like just in your own household, it's about like, can you center in yourself when you're in a bunch of different emotional fields, different psychic fields, right? It's in a sense, I should have used the word centering, but it's just about centering, right? So when we're not centered, we're doing all kinds of things, but we're not actually coming from an authentic, like a authenticated, in other words, like it carries the stamp of true self place. So when you center, you're able to do that. And I've experienced very strongly that it's also a function of like what I call soul success. That when we center, like the things that we attract, like what Ian Michael said, it's like if you can find something, sometimes it's about outer reflection too, like going and laying in nature, getting in alignment with what's really in alignment with you. And then what you attract is also, what you create is more in alignment, what you attract, what you say no to is much more in alignment with you. Awesome, thank you.